Hi everyone, my name's Laura. I'm 24 years old and I'm from West Lothian, which is a town in Scotland. So I just want to go to the next slide. So I'm just going to talk you through a bit of my journey in swimming. So when I was at school, I wasn't really involved much in PE in primary years. I didn't really hear much about sport. I just kind of did my physiotherapy with the teachers at the school. It was kind of on holiday with my family during the summer that I loved being in the pool. I just loved the freedom and just felt like myself in the water and not as restricted as I did using my wheelchair frame on the land. So after being on like a few family holidays, I was like, I want to do this more often. My family, they hate me for saying this, but weren't very keen on swimming, so no one wanted to take me to the pool. So I wanted to be in the pool more often. So I was like, okay, how can I do this myself? So I decided to join a club. So this was a disability specific club at the age of 13. The high school kind of helped me with that because I got doing a lot more swimming in high school, and that's where I did my first 400 meters. And they kind of suggested, well, we can get you into a disability club and see if you enjoy it from there. I wasn't really getting into it to be competitive, but they asked me to do my first competition at disability club, and I just kind of was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the team atmosphere of competing, and I just loved the thrill of it. So I decided, okay, I want to keep going with this. I want to see where it goes. Can I go to the next slide, please? So after that, I got recommended by the Coaches Disability Club to join a mainstream club. So at Disability Club, I was only swimming about an hour a week. So I joined Broxburn Swimming Club, and that was quite a big change for me from being like with a group of people with disabilities to being the only disabled swimmer within the group. So I found that quite daunting at first, and I was always kind of behind the group and just trying to get within the group. And I was quite young as well. Everyone was quite young around me, so yeah, it was a lot of a different experience. So after that, I got asked if I wanted to go into the performance group in the region. So that's called Swim West Lothian. And at first, I did not want to do that because I still was finding it a bit hard within the Broxburn group because I still didn't feel like I was good enough because I wasn't as fast as everyone else. I think if it wasn't for the coach at that time at Broxburn that convinced me that my skills were at the right level, I was at the right level for my disability, I probably wouldn't have gone and taken that opportunity. And I'm so glad that I did. After that, I got invited onto the Scottish para swimming team. And in 2015, I surprised myself and got two Scottish para swimming records in the 50 fly and 200 IM. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk you a bit through my university journey, as this has had quite an impact on my swimming. As you can see, it's not been a straight line. And I started, once I left school, I went to Stirling Uni to study computing science. I got to my second year and I really didn't enjoy what I was doing, but I just kind of kept pushing through. I was struggling to get enough time in the pool there, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my future, and I found that quite hard. So it was kind of the end of my second year and beginning of my third year. I was struggling through that period, and I was not really happy, and it was affecting my training a lot because I wasn't happy at uni. I wasn't sure what I was doing with my life. I felt really lost. So I knew if I kept going as that and kept studying computing, that things were just going to get worse for me. So I took the decision to kind of leave my degree and just kind of take some time out to see what I wanted to do. And there I decided to go to Mallorca to swim out there for a year, which was quite a big decision because it was in a different country, away from my family. I remember the first night I went there, I was so upset because I was like, what have I done? But the next day I was out with the people in the house going to Palma. So I think it was something that, even though I was so scared to do at the time, I'm so glad I did it because otherwise I wouldn't have had the opportunities to meet the people I did. And I think it was quite a brave thing to do, and I'm glad that I've got had that experience behind me. Once I left Mallorca, I was like trying to decide what I wanted to do, and I knew that I wanted to be involved within sports, as it was my passion, and I just love swimming and the sort of disability side of sports. So I decided to go to Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, and that was great because I really enjoyed the degree I was doing. When I left school, I wasn't really encouraged to do sports. They thought that it'd be easier for me just to do computing, and I kind of wished at the time maybe I'd pushed a bit further for that. But now I was doing something I really enjoyed, and the degree was so much better suited to me. But unfortunately, during that time, I was still struggling with my mental health, and I hadn't really probably got into the right place to kind of start that degree again. So in 2019, I had to take an early leave of absence, which I think was probably harder for me than leaving Stirling, because I did love what I was doing, but I just wasn't well enough to be able to do it. So I took that leave of absence, and that was kind of over the lockdown period as well. So I just kind of had time to myself. I was still keeping active with sports and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So when it came back to being like, do I want to go back to uni in 2020, I decided to just go for it, because it was online, and if I didn't like it, I didn't have to keep going on with it. I kind of got to that point that if it wasn't what I wanted to do, I wasn't going to keep pushing myself through it. So I felt so much better going back to university, and I was in a better place. So I really enjoyed my course there, and I'm so glad I kind of took that break, because it was a really hard thing to do, but it made me feel so much better, and I'm just loving my degree just now. Go into the next slide, please. So yeah, throughout my time swimming, I've had a lot of different injuries and a lot of different setbacks. You can see some of them listed there, such as broken bones, pulled muscles, torn ligaments, muscle tears, and inflamed nerves. And I find that very frustrating. But I think over the years, I've learned to deal with it a bit better and focus on what I can do and not what I can't. You can see the picture there. That was, I think, just before I did a workout. I broke my femur in lockdown, but I could still use my arms. So I just kind of kept up the strength in them. And I knew that's something that's still helping me progress towards my goals and helping me mentally as well. So it's like, even though it's frustrating to know that I've broken my leg and I can't do everything I did before, what can I do? And as well as I kind of mentioned that my mental health really affected my training competitions. And I think if it wasn't for the coach that I had at the time and who's coaching me now, I would have probably stayed in the sport. So I think it's really important you've got that sort of support system around me. And I think even though the injuries were really hard to come by and the mental health, I think it has made me a lot stronger and not give up. And it's also helped the pain threshold when you're racing, when you've had a lot of broken bones and injuries. Next slide, please. So yeah, it's just these are just some of my achievements over the last 10 years in sport. So I've got 11 Scottish records in the S6 and SB5 category. So in swimming, they do S1, which has got the most impaired, and S10, which has got the least impairment for swimming, and B stands for breaststroke. And I got a British record in the 200 breaststroke at the Summer Festival of Swimming just back there in July. At Robert Gordon, I got awarded the Full Blues Award for my achievement in swimming. And this is quite a personal one, and it's getting a personal best in the 50 and 100 freestyle after 3 years. Because I think, as well as getting records, medals, the most important thing for me is improving in myself. So after 3 years of having a lot of struggles, having that time out of uni to finally PB in my 100, as you can see in that photo of my face, I was very happy with that. And it just shows that I didn't give up during those 3 years, and I kept going. And I think that's one of like my proudest achievements within swimming, as well as I got a Bucks silver medal in the 100 freestyle. So Bucks is the British uni competition that they have in November and February. And the Scottish National Open in 2017, I got 4 bronze medals. Next slide, please. So I'm really passionate about sport, and I know it's had such a huge impact on my life, not just physically, but mentally, the friends I've made and the sort of support system I have. So I'm really passionate about giving back to sport. So I'm a member of the Scottish Disability Sport Young Person Sport Panel, the Sport Scotland Young Person Sport Panel, as well as working with Scottish Student Sport as their disability lead. So I'm just kind of passionate about improving the opportunities to other and making sure there's more inclusivity within clubs and that everyone has that opportunity, whether they've just tried sport for the first time or they're wanting to get into performance sport, that everyone's got a place they can do that. So trying to identify those barriers and break them down. And no matter what your disability is, I think there's a sport out there for you. And I know the recent Paralympics is so many different classifications, so many different sports. And I think as long as you give something a try and you can see it's for you, if you don't try, then you'll never know if you like it. And it could be something that changes your life. So yeah, I'd really recommend to get out there and try a sport. Next slide. So my current training, I'm in the pool 9 times a week and I'm in the gym 3 times I'm aiming to qualify next year for the Commonwealth Games in the 100-metre breaststroke, and I'm just kind of looking forward to having a good season of training, hopefully a full season this time. And I feel physically and mentally in the best place, so I just want to see how far I can achieve this year. I've also, as I was talking about university earlier, transferred to Napier to do their physical activity and health course. So I finished my second year at RDU and I've gone to third year at Napier, just because I've got my support system at home, as well as I've got my coach at home who I get on really well with. Next slide, please. So yeah, just to finish off, if you've got any questions after this or want to find out more about the journey, there's my email address and my Instagram and Twitter.